The Marvels Avengers game is looking like it's in a lot of trouble. Can it recover, or is it game over? Talking about it this week in the Gaming Hub. Let's go. Now, it's a great day on the internet, everybody. Welcome to Assemble. I'm Matt. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, we're talking about Marvel's Avengers video game and some of the news and updates that have been coming out on the interwebs about its performance in terms of revenue, the player base, and kind of what the future holds for this. So let's get into it. Before we do, guys, if you can support the show, I would love it if you guys would hit subscribe. Hit the notification bell. You get updates on all of the gaming content that we're doing here on Assemble. So that's the way you guys can support the show. PC Gamer recently wrote an article talking about Square Enix and the Marvel's Avengers video game performance. And they were going through and talking about how Square has lost up to $48 million for this game to date. Now with that, there is conversation that the game cost around $170 million to actually produce once we got past the betas and was actually live for the general consumers. So with the game only performing with it costing over $100 million to make and only getting about 3 million copies sold, this is telling pretty much the whole audience and as well as the industry and Square that the game is really just not performing at the level that they wanted to, and that they're taking a huge loss. And this is very much, I think, contributed to how the game was rolled out. It seemed like it was pushed out very quickly. It was not ready for players to play, like to buy at retail. I think that it was still even in beta mode once we actually got it released after the public beta went live. I think the final copy of the version was definitely not that. Seeing the slew of updates and patches and tweaks that they were making consistently on a weekly basis to try and up the game's performance and make sure that it was doing a little bit better. But since its launch, we had, I would say, as just a general consumer of it, as a fan of Marvel, I mean, come on, look around here in this little shop here. But as a fan, I really came into this game thinking I really like it. There's a lot of good that was there. There's a lot of solid ideas. The single player campaign with Kamala was, I think, really well done, really well crafted. The voice acting was very awesome in this. There was a lot of really good with this game. The problem is that I think once we actually got past the initial hype, once we got into the nuts and bolts of the game, started doing raids, and the grind sequence that was built in, the grind mechanic that they were doing with the looting, I think it was telling the audience, the players, that there isn't just a lot here to work with. Now, going through GameBite, there was an article posted by Tweaktown that was highlighting the overall player base and how it's actually completely dropped, a considerable drop across for PC players specifically, not the console players, but just for the PC audience. So since the launch in September, they've seen actually on the PC side that they've lost 96% of its player base. This is leaving just over 1,000 players that are live, that are online at a given time playing this game. This doesn't account for what the console audience looks like. I'd be very curious to see, guys, what that looks like, how many console players are engaging in this game. But this is a telltale sign that if players that are on a PC that typically have high performing PCs that like to play games that are going to be able to grind, putting in those hours, they have dropped off completely because there's just so many other games to play. And also, I don't think that there's a lot of motivation and incentive for anybody to really come back, whether you be on the PC or the console side. We haven't seen any DLC drops. We've only been given patches. We are running the same raids and the same sequences and the same missions and the same boss fights. With any game, regardless of being Marvel's Avengers, there is not a real telltale reason to come back to it. I haven't received anything with a story campaign DLC. I haven't received any updates to the maps, the design. Like, there's nothing there that's going to motivate me to actually press play, press start to get into this game again. And that's really unfortunate because, like I said, the story I thought was really well crafted. It got you from A, B, C. It took you along for this specific ride. And I think that's worth championing. But I think that they have done a disservice, and it's very unfortunate that we're not getting any new updates and feel like there is hype around this, especially now that we have launched our brand new consoles. We have the brand new PS5, we have the Series X. This is an amazing moment and opportunity if you're Square to actually go in and put forth some extra effort to try and get this game in people's hands, get it in their eyeballs, get them to download again, and to play this thing one more time. I think that this is a huge drop of the ball. It would have been perfect, in my opinion, if, because we already have Miles Morales, we have the remastered version of Spider-Man on PS5 out as a bundle. If you're Square and you see these numbers, and this is just what's being reported now, so obviously Square has the data and the analytics before this stuff comes out. They can see the player base is consistently dropping, the numbers are going down, the user base is going down. What's troubling is that Square is not taking the opportunity and taking advantage to turn on certain things, to give us a Black Panther DLC on game day, on launch day, console launch day, or launch week, or launch window. Like, give us Black Panther DLC, give me Hawkeye, give me Spider-Man. I'm sure there's a ton of work that goes into trying to produce that DLC, to produce that content, but if you had already mapped this thing out a considerable amount of time ago, how do we not have Spider-Man ready for the consoles at launch on the PlayStation 5, PS4, all of that, to coincide with all of this hype and everything? Players right now, because of the new console launches, it's an optimal time to be able to get the consumer to actually buy into more games, to try to download something again from their library, or to actually buy something new because they want to experience something new on the console. They want to go back to older games like I do and be able to say, you know what, I want to see how this performs on my new game console. And I'm sure there's a ton of us out there for the consoles that are playing that are doing that, and they're doing that with Marvel's Avengers to see how it plays, see the load times cut down, all of that. But if you're Square, how do you not take advantage of the opportunity that's in front of you? Instead, it's very quiet. There's no real news on the horizon as to what we're looking at for the roadmap for a game like this. And as a games as a service, that's the core of it. You need to keep the audience engaged. You need to keep them coming back for more on a monthly, quarterly basis to show them, and at least show them what is kind of roadmap for the next year, for people to stay in the loop, keep the updates coming, and let them know what's going on. With a 96% drop player base on the PC side, with a considerable, lack of content, lack of updates and news coming out for the console side, nothing coming attached with the brand new consoles that are now out, it feels like there is the chance that this is game over for Square with the Marvel's Avengers game. And it falls flat, and it falls into the pit, and we put it in the pile with a game like Anthem. And that's really sad too, because Anthem, like Marvel's Avengers, had an amazing amount of momentum, had the audience bought in, that were ready for a game like that you were basically Iron Man flying around in this game. And then we actually get the Iron Man, the Marvel's Avengers game, and you are Iron Man, and you are Thor, and you are Black Widow, and you are playing as these characters, and there's nothing there. And it's really, really too bad. In my opinion, guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think about the status of Marvel's Avengers, and did you fall off too? I played this for the first month and a half of launch, and then I pretty much fell off because there was nothing incentivizing me personally to come back for more. I felt like I had done it, I had grinded out the characters I wanted to, and after I beat the story campaign in the first weekend, I felt like there was nothing much really to do beyond that. And again, that's really just unfortunate for a game that has the branding, the identity, like, those characters when you see them, and people want to play as them. That's why a game like Spider-Man Miles Morales, one reason why a game like that is doing so well, is not only because of how amazing it is overall, the character, the design, the quality, the time and love and affection that's gone into a title like that, but people like to play as Spider-Man, and they want to play as Captain America and Thor and Iron Man too, and you gave them that, but we're not seeing any more attention into it. I think that the game is probably going to drop off if they are not capitalizing on brand new consoles coming out now, and we don't see anything coming up for Black Friday and for the Christmas holiday when people have time and they're spending money. Then I actually think that this will drop off. And even if Square goes ahead and tries to launch more content in, let's say, January, February, I think that it's going to be a little bit of a misnumber, and I don't think anything really at this point is going to grab people's attentions when you've had 6 months to actually bring them in and keep them engaged. and people are going to move on, and they have moved on. And we are playing all of our games on our new consoles. We're playing Spider-Man, we're playing Gears, we're testing everything out, we're playing Assassin's Creed, and then we have games that are coming like Cyberpunk, and everyone is getting out of the way of Cyberpunk. And a game like that, from the look of it, is going to keep people engaged all through the holiday season and beyond that. So it's going to be really critical that if they're going to do anything, that the time is now, the time was yesterday. But I think that if they do anything that's going to come in the new year, I don't think that they have a leg to stand on, unfortunately, just because of the plethora of games that are coming down the pipe, and everyone is into the new gen of games. That's my rant. That's my thoughts. That's my opinions. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much, by the way, for supporting the show, getting us to 400 subscribers. We are on the road to 500, so do me a favor and hit the subscribe button if you enjoy content like this coming at you every single week. What do you think of Marvel's Avengers? Are you going to jump in at all, or have you kind of moved on? Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and as always, thank you for assembling with us. See ya!